You're in the Temple of the Rants, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for MOL352, who says, rant about Manchester Orchestra's Cope and Hope albums. Which version do you prefer? How would you rank them among the rest of their work? So, honestly, this pair of albums is where Manchester Orchestra fell off for me. And Mean Everything to Nothing and Simple Math are two of my favorite albums. I've listened to them countless times. I really love them. I love the adventurousness of them, that there's a lot of different song styles, that the songs have these big, epic crescendos they often reach, a little bit more complex songwriting. Their first album's pretty okay as well. I'm not going to knock it. There's some songs I like, but it's not one I've revisited all that often. Cope, when it came out, I was immediately struck by the fact that the songwriting is just more simplistic and stripped back. The songs are all kind of samey, and they even acknowledge themselves that I think the singer had described the Simple Math album as having gone through a range of different colors as it went along, whereas Cope was like stuck in this black and red sort of sound palette. And yeah, I mean, that's exactly why it gets kind of boring. All the songs kind of feel the same, and the production is bad on this album. It's really muddy, really hard to pull the instruments apart, and I'm not even saying the production was great on, say, Mean Everything to Nothing. There's definitely some parts where I would say that's one of the weaker points of the album, but Cope just, particularly the chorus on the first song, which I want to like. I like the main riff of the first song. They're like, bow, 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 bow. That's the one thing that I've considered memorable from this album. It's the one thing that has stuck with me over the years since it came out. But the chorus sounds terrible on that song. And, it just gets really tiring and headache-inducing for me really quick. And then you have Hope, which is just kind of boring and mellow. I mean, it doesn't feel like these songs were written to be performed in this way. Because if you don't know what these are, Cope is like a heavy album. Hope is the light. It's all the same songs, but like semi-acoustic or just lighter sounding. It's the same concept as what Portugal the Man did with the Satanic Satanist and the Majestic Majesty. And, in the case of that album, I prefer the Satanic Satanist by far because it's more lush and just more exciting and fun to listen to. But Majestic Majesty, at least a lot of the songs sounded like they translated well to that sound, since they were basically folk songs in the first place. And the fact that they had so many band members at the time involved so much different styles of instrumentation, then there was at least some complexity to the songs. On Hope, it just feels like you're listening to what should be a radio rock song, but in an acoustic version. I've never been the biggest fan of acoustic versions of rock songs in the first place. I think that they're kind of cheesy. And yeah, it just didn't do anything for me. The atmosphere it's too mellow without having any real emotion or catharsis to it. I almost wish that the sound they had gone for was a combination of both. Maybe if the songs had transitioned between the heavier and lighter sounds, it might have been something interesting, but each individually just isn't really a headspace that I find it interesting to be in. So yeah, I don't even think I've ever been able to listen to either of them all the way through. I usually just get really bored and stop, maybe skip through and try to find a track I'll enjoy and just fail. So yeah, I don't care for them, and their latest album I thought was terrible for a lot of the same reasons as the latest Coheed album, just an endless onslaught of generically structured verse, chorus, verse, mellow 4.5-minute rock songs. I made a whole video about my problems with that album on the Digibros Turntable channel called How to Kill Rock and Roll in 4 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. I don't really know why they would go down this road of simplifying their sound so much. I don't think it's made them any more successful, because it's not like they've had any hits since Mean Everything to Nothing, pretty much. I don't even think they had anything off of Simple Math, but I love that album. Largely because it felt like they had considered each emotion they were going for and just written like the perfect song for that emotion, as opposed to lingering in one emotion and just writing a bunch of kind of similar stuff that isn't individually an amazing expression of that feeling, you know. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about him, unfortunately.